Upon reflecting on the various creativity measures that I have participated in throughout this course, one thing became crystal clear to me. One assessment is not sufficient enough to develop a creativity profile. Each creativity measure provides some insight into my individual creative profile. Yet together they paint a more complete picture. Understanding these strengths and weaknesses in depth will help me draw upon them as well as develop them more in the future. The following presentation is an illustration of my complete creative profile. There are 5 assessments included in my profile: emotional intelligence, Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, Foresight Thinking Profile, Curtin Adaptation Innovation Inventory, and the Torrance Tests of Creative Thinking. Let's start with emotional intelligence. The 14 hearts shown here are linked to the brain and represent each of the individual measures from the assessment of emotional intelligence. I chose to use both green and blue hues for this portion of my illustration to show that my personal emotional intelligence is a combination of the 2 ranges, competent and excel. The brain is separated in 5 sections, one for each topic measured in the survey. Finally, within each section, the hearts hold my score with respect to those aspects of emotional intelligence. The Myers-Briggs Type Indicator. The 4 heads that appear in the drawing are meant to represent the 4 categories of the Myers-Briggs personality types. While they are all purple, you will see that they are different shades of the same hue. This technique, as well as the fact that all 4 bodies overlap, depicts the idea that the individual preferences should not be considered alone, but rather as a component of the whole of my Myers-Briggs profile, which is E, N, F, and P. The letters E, N, F, and P are embedded into each of the 4 drawings. While the survey concluded that I am an F, I feel that I am a blend of thinking and feeling when it comes to the way that I make decisions. As such, you will notice that within the letters shown, there is a seamless blend of a T and an F. Lastly, each face highlights only one eye. Together there are 4 eyes, which is a nod to my foresight assessment, which you'll see in the next section of my illustration. The Foresight Thinking Profile. The thought bubble rising from the Myers-Briggs personality represents my preference within the creative problem-solving process. I am an ideator. Inside the thought bubble, I drew a light bulb to represent the ideator. This is a nod to the artwork used within the creative problem-solving process materials and literature. Additionally, the thought bubble overlaps with the section of empathy and my score for understanding and listening of the emotional intelligence assessment. This aligns with my personal belief that in order to come up with worthwhile ideas, one needs an understanding for who these ideas will serve. The Torrance Test of Creative Thinking. This test is represented by the artist palette. The 5 paint swatches specifically indicate the categories fluency, originality, titles, elaboration, and resistance to premature closure. Much like the other assessments, I chose to use various shades of the same hue to illustrate that each topic is not so cut and dry, but rather blends of many considerations. In order to complete the various tests posed by Torrance, one needs to literally draw from each one of these categories. My individual scores are also represented within each swatch. They are 27, 20, 20, 15, and 14. The Curtin Adaptation Innovation Inventory. The Curtin Adaptation Innovation Scale assesses what kind of thinker you are. Are you one that adapts your thinking to the situation, or do you innovate new solutions? My personal score puts me on the side of innovator. The rocket shown here is a depiction of that preference, symbolizing the desire to push boundaries and explore areas that have not yet been charted. The rocket is fueled by 3 components: sufficiency of originality, efficiency, and the rule group conformity. The scores 18, 37, and 51 embedded in the fire represent these 3 components. They total 106, which is my total score for the Curtain Adaptation Innovation inventory. That number 106 is in the body of the rocket. So again, here's a complete picture of my creative profile. At the top of the illustration, you'll see a person, a writer, an illustrator, a scribe, someone working away, and those tests then reveal the larger whole of what is happening underneath. That is my complete creative profile. In summary, I chose to create this piece of artwork as a way to visually express what I've learned about myself creatively. I am a thinker, a doer, and above all else, a creator. The medium of illustration allows me to actively depict my creative strengths. Over the course of a few years, I have been developing this style of illustration and feel that it accurately captures my creative style as well. It is fun, whimsical, and yet not so detailed as to prescribe to the world what they should think. While this illustration is filled with personal meaning, others are invited to participate, express their own ideas, and arrive at their own conclusions through their own self-reflection. I will use what I have learned through the process of responding to various measurements and my personal assessments of these measures as an opportunity to continue to grow creatively.